Sarah Chun stood at the control room window and watched the last ship disappear into the dark sky. The bright light from its engines got smaller and smaller until it was gone. She put her hand against the cold glass and felt her heart sink. That ship carried the last group of people who could afford to leave Kepler 442c, the rich families, the government workers, the lucky ones who had connections. Everyone else was stuck here. 50,000 people still lived on this mining planet. Miners who dug deep into the ground for rare metals. Engineers who kept the machines running. Farmers who grew food in the underground gardens. Doctors, teachers, shopkeepers, and their families. Normal people who just wanted to live their lives in peace. But peace was ending soon. Sarah turned away from the window and looked at the message on her computer screen. She had read it 100 times, but the words still made her angry. The Galactic Council had sent it 6 hours ago. It was short and cold, like they were talking about throwing away broken tools instead of leaving people to die. To all remaining personnel on Kepler 442c, the message said, the Zephyrian swarm has moved beyond our defensive line. Your planet is now outside our protection zone. We cannot send rescue ships. You are on your own. May luck be with you. That was it. No, sorry. No, we wish we could help. Just goodbye and good luck. Sarah had been the colony administrator for 8 years. She had helped build this place from nothing. She had watched families grow up here, seen children take their first steps in the low-gravity, celebrated holidays in the main square. Now, the Galactic Council was telling her that none of it mattered. Dr. Marcus Webb walked into the control room. He was a thin man with gray hair who studied alien life forms. Usually he was calm and quiet, but today his hands were shaking as he held a data pad. Sarah, I have the latest reports from our deep space sensors, he said. His voice was tired and scared. The Zephyrian ships are 3 days away, maybe less, Sarah nodded. She had been expecting this news, but it still hit her like a punch, too. The Zephyrians were not like other aliens. Most species in the galaxy were peaceful. They traded with each other, shared technology, tried to solve problems with words instead of weapons. The Zephyrians were different. They were like a swarm of hungry insects that ate everything in their path. How many ships? She asked. Marcus looked at his datapad. Our sensors show at least 40 bioships. Big ones. They are not just scouting anymore. This is a full attack force. Bioships were living creatures that the Zephyrians had changed and grown into weapons. They looked like giant beetles or wasps, but they were as big as space stations. Their shells could stop most weapons, and they could repair themselves if they got damaged. Worst of all, they could land on planets and release millions of smaller creatures that would eat everything alive. Sarah walked to the big table in the center of the room. A 3-dimensional map of the colony floated above it, showing all the buildings, mines, and defense systems. It looked so small and weak compared to what was coming. What do we have to fight with? She asked. Marcus tapped some buttons on the table. Red dots appeared on the map showing their weapons. 12 defense turrets around the main settlement. They are old models, but they still work. We have some mining explosives we could turn into bombs. The construction mechs could be used as fighting machines, but they are slow and not built for war. Sarah counted the red dots. 12 turrets against 40 bioships. It was not even close to a fair fight. The Zephyrians would destroy their defenses in minutes. What about the underground tunnels? She asked. The mining tunnels go deep, but they are not connected to each other. If the Zephyrians drop ground forces, people could hide there for a while, but they would eventually be found. Sarah closed her eyes and tried to think. There had to be something they could do. Some way to fight back, or at least make the aliens pay a price for attacking them. But the truth was simple and terrible. They were going to die. The door opened and more people came into the control room. Tom Rodriguez was the head of mining operations, a big man with strong hands covered in scars from years of working with heavy machinery. Maria Santos ran the hydroponic farms that fed the colony. She was young but smart and always found ways to grow more food with less water. Jim Patterson was the head of security, a former soldier who had come here to start a peaceful life. They all looked at Sarah with hope in their eyes, waiting for her to tell them what to do. She was their leader. They trusted her to find a way to save them, but she had no miracles to offer. "Everyone knows the situation," she said. "The Galactic Council has abandoned us. The Zephyrians will be here in 3 days. We cannot run and we cannot hide forever." Tom crossed his arms. "So we fight. My miners know how to use explosives. We can make their landing cost them something." Jim nodded. "I can train people to use the weapons we have. Most folks here know how to handle tools and machines. That is something." Maria spoke quietly. "What about the children?" "There are 5,000 kids in this colony. Some of them are just babies." The room went silent. That was the part that made Sarah want to cry. The adults had chosen to come here, chosen to take the risk of living on the edge of civilized space. But the children had no choice. They were born here, grew up here, called this place home. They did not deserve to die because of adult decisions. "We protect them as long as we can," Sarah said. "The deep tunnels in Sector 7 are the safest. We move all the children there with enough food and water for a month. Maybe longer if we are careful." "And then what?" Maria asked it. Sarah did not have an answer. "After a month, the children would starve or the Zephyrians would find them. Either way, the result would be the same. Dr. Webb had been quiet during the discussion, but now he spoke up. "I have been studying the Zephyrian communications we intercepted. They are not just attacking randomly. They are looking for something specific." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "The bioships have been scanning our planet for the last week. But they are not just looking at our cities and defenses. They are mapping our mining operations. I think they want the rare metals we dig up here," Tom snorted. "Let them have the damn metals. We do not need to die for some rocks." "It is not that simple," Webb said. "The Zephyrians do not trade or negotiate. They take what they want and destroy everything else. Even if we tried to surrender, they would still kill us. That is just how they are." Sarah walked back to the window and looked out at the colony. Lights were coming on in the buildings as people prepared for another shift of work. Some of them probably did not even know about the evacuation ships that had left today. They were just living their normal lives, not knowing that death was racing toward them through space. Children were playing in the main square, running and laughing in the low gravity. Their parents watched from nearby benches, smiling as their kids had. Fun. In 3 days, those children would be hiding in dark tunnels, scared and hungry. "If they were lucky, we need to tell everyone," Sarah said. "They have a right to know what is coming. Some people might want to spend their last days with their families instead of building defenses that will not work anyway." The others nodded. It was the right thing to do, even if it was hard. As Sarah prepared to make the announcement that would change everything, she wondered if anyone in the galaxy would remember them after they were gone. Would someone tell the story of the 50,000 people who died on Kepler 442c? Because the Galactic Council decided they were not worth saving? She doubted it. Space was big, and there were always new tragedies to worry about. But maybe that was okay. Maybe it was enough that they would face the end with courage and dignity. Maybe that was all anyone could really ask for. The stars outside looked cold and distant, offering no hope or comfort. In 3 days, those stars would witness the end of everything Sarah had worked to build. But until then, she would do her job and take care of her people, right up to the very end. The emergency alarm woke Sarah Chun from a restless sleep. She had been dreaming about her daughter back on Earth, safe in a school far away from this dying planet. The loud noise brought her back to the terrible reality of Kepler 442c. She rolled out of bed and grabbed her clothes, knowing that the alarm meant only one thing. The Zephyrians had arrived early. Sarah ran through the empty hallways of the administration building. Her footsteps echoed off the metal walls as she rushed toward the control room. Through the windows she could see people running in the streets. Below, parents carrying children toward the tunnels. Workers abandoning their posts to find their families. Everyone was scared, but they were not panicking. These were tough people who had lived on the edge of space for years. When Sarah reached the control room, she found Dr. Webb standing at the sensor station with his mouth open. Jim Patterson was there too, staring at the main display screen like he could not believe what he was seeing. Maria Santos sat at a computer, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she tried to make sense of the data. "What is happening?" Sarah asked. Webb turned to her with confusion in his eyes. "The Zephyrian bioships dropped out of hyperspace 30 minutes ago. 47 of them, just like we expected. But something else came with them." Sarah looked at the main screen. It showed a tactical view of the space around their planet. The Zephyrian ships appeared as red dots arranged in attack formations. But there was something else on the screen. A single blue dot that was much larger than the others. "What is that blue contact?" she asked. "We are not sure," Jim said. "It appeared right after the Zephyrians arrived. Same time, same place, like it was following them. But the computer says it is not a Zephyrian ship." Maria looked up from her keyboard. "I have been trying to identify it using our ship database. The computer keeps saying the same thing. It matches the design of a human dreadnought, but that is impossible." "Why is it impossible?" Sarah asked. "Because human ships do not come out here anymore," Webb said. "The Galactic Council pulled all our military forces back to the core worlds months ago. And besides, this ship is huge. 2.5 kilometers long, according to our sensors. Humans do not build ships that big." Sarah stared at the screen. The blue dot was moving toward the planet, but slowly, like it was being careful. The red dots representing the Zephyrian ships were changing formation, turning away from the planet to face this new arrival. "Are we receiving any signals from it?" Sarah asked. Maria shook her head. "Nothing on standard frequencies, but wait." She pressed some buttons and put on a headset. "I am picking up something on the old emergency channels, very faint." The speakers in the control room crackled with static. Then a voice came through, clear and strong despite the interference. It was a woman speaking with confidence and authority. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the HSV Prometheus. We received your distress beacon. Nobody gets left behind, not on our watch." The room went silent. Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. Jim's hand dropped away from his weapon. Webb sat down heavily in a chair like his legs could not hold him up anymore. "Did she say the Prometheus?" Maria whispered. Sarah nodded. Everyone in human space knew that name. The USV Prometheus had been one of the most advanced ships in the Colonial Defense Force. It had disappeared 4 months ago during a mission into the Void Nebula. The entire crew of 800 people had been declared dead. The Galactic Council had held memorial services for them, but now it was here, somehow alive and ready to fight. "Open a channel," Sarah said. "All frequencies." Maria worked at her controls for a moment, then nodded. "Channel open." Sarah picked up the microphone with shaking hands. "Captain Vasquez, this is Colony Administrator Sarah Chun. We thought your ship was lost. How are you here?" There was a pause before the captain answered. "It is a long story, Administrator Chun. Right now we have more important things to worry about. We count 47 hostile bioships in your system. Are your people in safe positions?" "Most of them are in the underground tunnels." "But Captain, you are just one ship. The Zephyrians have an entire attack fleet. You should run while you still can." Captain Vasquez laughed, and there was something cold in that sound. "Administrator, we did not come here to run. We came here to remind the galaxy that humans protect their own." On the main screen, the tactical display was changing. The Zephyrian ships were moving into attack formation, surrounding the human dreadnought. It should have been terrifying to watch. One ship against 47 was not a fight, it was suicide. But something about the way the Prometheus moved made Sarah think of a predator that was not afraid of a pack of smaller animals. The human ship was accelerating toward the largest group of Zephyrian bioships instead of trying to escape. Its hull was beginning to glow with a strange blue light that Sarah had never seen before. "Captain, what are you doing?" Sarah asked into the microphone. "Our job," Captain Vasquez replied. All colonists should stay in the tunnels until we give the all clear. This might get loud. Dr. Webb was studying the sensor readings with growing amazement. Sarah, look at this. The Prometheus is not just bigger than it should be. It is showing energy signatures I have never seen before. Where did they get technology? Like this? Before Sarah could answer, the first weapon's fire lit up the space above their planet. But it was not the Zephyrians who fired first. It was the Prometheus. Bright beams of energy shot out from the human ship toward the nearest bioships. Sarah expected to see the familiar light show of energy weapons hitting biological armor. The Zephyrians were famous for having shells that could absorb most attacks. Their bioships had fought off entire fleets before, but these weapons were different. The energy beams did not just hit the Zephyrian ships. They went through them like the bio-armor was not even there. 3 bioships exploded in the first seconds of the fight, their organic hulls torn apart by whatever the humans were using. How is that possible? Jim breathed. The Zephyrians responded by swarming toward the Prometheus from all directions. Their bioships moved like living things, twisting and turning as they closed in for the kill. Sarah had seen recordings of Zephyrian attacks before. When they surrounded an enemy ship like this, the fight was usually over in minutes. But the Prometheus did not act like a cornered animal. It acted like it was exactly where it wanted to be, more weapons fired from the human ship. These were different from the first ones. Instead of energy beams, they looked like some kind of projectiles that seemed to appear and disappear as they traveled through space. Several of them hit Zephyrian bioships and passed right through their shields like the shields were not there. Those look like quantum torpedoes, Webb said in amazement. But quantum weapons were banned by the Galactic Council centuries ago. They were considered too dangerous. Apparently the Prometheus did not get that memo, Maria said. The strangest thing happened next. As the human ship destroyed more bioships, it seemed to be getting stronger instead of weaker. The blue glow around its hull was getting brighter, and new weapons were appearing along its sides. The ship is changing, Sarah said. Look at the sensor readings. Its power output is increasing. Webb was frantically checking his instruments. This does not make sense. Ships do not get more powerful during a battle. They get damaged and weaker. Unless, Maria said slowly, they are somehow feeding off the ships they destroy. That idea was so strange that everyone stopped talking for a moment. But as they watched the battle continue, it became harder to ignore. Every time the Prometheus destroyed a Zephyrian bioship, it seemed to grow a little bit stronger. The Zephyrians were starting to act differently too. Instead of pressing their attack, some of their ships were backing away from the human dreadnought. Sarah had studied Zephyrian behavior for years, and she had never seen them retreat from anything. They fought until they won or until they all died. Fear was not something they understood, but they were afraid now. Captain Vasquez, Sarah said into the microphone. What kind of ship are you flying out there? There was another pause before the captain answered. When she spoke, her voice was calm, but there was something fierce underneath it. The kind of ship that should have been built a long time ago, Administrator. The kind that does not ask permission to protect human colonies. The kind that hunts monsters instead of running from them. As if to prove her point, the Prometheus fired a new weapon that Sarah had never seen before. A beam of energy that seemed to reach out and grab one of the bioships, pulling it toward the human dreadnought. As the Zephyrian ship got closer, it began to come apart, its organic matter being drawn into the Prometheus like it was being eaten. Dear God, Webb whispered. They built a ship that can consume other ships. The remaining Zephyrian bioships were definitely retreating now. Some of them were trying to escape to hyperspace, but the Prometheus was not letting them go. It was chasing them down one by one, destroying them with weapons that should not exist. Sarah sat down in her chair and watched the impossible battle in the sky, above her planet. 24 hours ago, she had been preparing to die. Now she was watching a single human ship tear apart an entire Zephyrian attack fleet. Who are you people? She whispered as if she had heard the question. Captain Vasquez's voice came through. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction. 12 Zephyrian bioships were already destroyed, their organic matter absorbed into her ship's systems. The remaining 35 were regrouping, trying to understand what they were fighting. She could see the confusion in their movements. The Zephyrians had never faced anything like this before. "Engineering report," she called out. Commander James Park's voice came through the comm system from deep inside the ship. "Power levels at 115% and climbing, Captain. The harvester is working perfectly. Every bioship we consume makes us stronger." Elena smiled. 4 months ago, when they had been lost in the Void Nebula, James had thought she was crazy for wanting to install the ancient technology they had found. The other officers had called it too dangerous, too unknown. But Elena had seen the future. That was coming. She had seen what the galaxy would become if someone did not fight back against the swarm. "Weapons status?" she asked. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim answered from the weapons station. "Quantum torpedoes loaded and ready. Gravitational lances are fully charged. The harvester is ready for another feeding cycle." Elena nodded. The Prometheus was not just a ship anymore. It was a weapon designed for one purpose: hunting Zephyrians. Every system on board had been built or modified to kill the swarm more efficiently. They had spent 4 months in the Void Nebula, testing and improving, until they had created something that should not exist. "Communications, what are the Zephyrians saying to each other?" Elena asked. Officer Torres listened to his headset for a moment, then looked up with surprise. "Captain, they are calling us the Devourers. They are warning each other to stay away from us." "I have never heard Zephyrians sound scared before." "Good," Elena said. "Fear will make them sloppy." On the main screen, the Zephyrian fleet was spreading out into a wider formation. They were trying to surround the Prometheus again, but this time they were keeping their distance. Elena could see bioships hanging back, unwilling to get close to the human dreadnought. "They are learning," she said to her bridge crew, "but not fast enough." Elena had studied Zephyrian tactics for years. The swarm fought by overwhelming their enemies with numbers and bio-armor that could absorb most weapons. They were used to facing ships that got weaker as the battle went on. They had no idea how to fight something that got stronger by killing them. "Take us toward the largest group," Elena ordered. "Full combat acceleration." The Prometheus surged forward, its massive engines pushing the ship toward a cluster of 8 bioships. The Zephyrians opened fire with their organic weapons, streams of acid and bioelectric energy that could melt through normal ship armor. But the Prometheus was not a normal ship. The ancient humans who had built the generation ship in the Void Nebula had been experimenting with technologies that the modern Galactic Council considered forbidden. Adaptive armor that could change its properties based on the type of attack. Energy shields that fed on enemy weapons fire instead of being weakened by it. Most importantly, they had built the harvester. Elena watched as the Zephyrian weapons hit their shields and were absorbed, converted into raw energy that flowed back into the ship's systems. The bioships were actually making the Prometheus stronger with every shot. "Fire quantum torpedoes," Elena commanded. The torpedoes launched from the ship's forward tubes, but these were not ordinary weapons. They phased in and out of normal space as they traveled, making them impossible to intercept or avoid. The Zephyrians tried to shoot them down, but their weapons passed right through the phasing torpedoes like they were shooting at ghosts. 6 torpedoes hit 6 different bioships. Each one punched through the organic armor like it was paper and exploded inside the ship's body. The bioships convulsed and died, their life functions shutting down as their nervous systems were destroyed. "Gravitational lance, target the largest bioship," Elena ordered. The gravitational lance was another weapon from the ancient technology cache. It created a focused beam of gravitational force that could crush anything in its path. Elena watched as the invisible beam reached out and grabbed the largest Zephyrian ship. The bioship began to compress under the artificial gravity, its organic hull cracking and buckling. The creature inside the ship was screaming on biofrequencies as it was slowly crushed to death. Other Zephyrian ships tried to help, but there was nothing they could do. The gravitational lance was relentless. "Harvester ready, Captain," Kim reported. "Fire," Elena said simply. The harvester was the most terrifying weapon on the ship. It did not just destroy enemy vessels. It consumed them, breaking down their organic matter at the molecular level and converting it into energy and raw materials. Elena watched as the beam reached out and touched the dying bioship. The effect was immediate and horrible. The Zephyrian ship began to dissolve, its organic hull flowing toward the Prometheus like liquid metal. The creature inside tried to escape, but there was nowhere to go. Within minutes, the entire bioship had been consumed, its mass added to the human dreadnought. "Power levels now at 130%, James reported from engineering. "We are stronger than we have ever been." Elena felt the ship around her changing as it grew. New weapon ports were opening along the hull. Additional armor was forming over vulnerable areas. The ship's artificial intelligence was learning from each battle, adapting and improving in real time. Down on the planet below, Sarah Chun was watching the battle with amazement and terror. The human ship was not just winning, it was evolving. Every Zephyrian ship it destroyed made it more powerful, more dangerous. "This is not possible," Dr. Webb said as he stared at the sensor readings. "Ships do not work this way. They cannot just eat other ships and grow stronger." "Apparently they can," Jim Patterson said quietly. "The question is, where did the humans get technology like this?" Sarah opened a communication channel to the Prometheus. "Captain Vasquez, what kind of ship are you commanding out there?" Elena's voice came back immediately. "The kind that should have been built centuries ago, Administrator. The kind that does not ask the galaxy for permission to defend human colonies." "But how is it possible? How can your ship consume other ships?" There was a pause before Elena answered. "We found something in the Void Nebula. Something that previous generations of humans had built and then hidden away because the Galactic Council thought it was too dangerous. They were wrong, it was not. Too dangerous, it was exactly what we needed." More Zephyrian bioships were dying as the Prometheus continued its attack. The human ship was moving through the enemy formation like a shark through a school of fish, destroying everything in its path and growing stronger with each kill. "Captain," Torres called out, "I am detecting new hyperspace signatures. More Zephyrian ships are jumping into the system." Elena looked at the tactical display as 12 new red contacts appeared on the screen. These were larger than the first group, including what looked like a Hive-class command vessel. The reinforcements had arrived just as the original attack. Fleet was being destroyed. "How many total now?" Elena asked. 43 bioships, including the command vessel, Kim reported. "We are still outnumbered." Elena laughed, and there was something cold and predatory in the sound. "Not for long. Take us toward the command ship. It is time to send a message to the entire swarm." The Prometheus changed course, accelerating toward the newly arrived Zephyrian reinforcements. The ship's hull was now glowing with a bright blue energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. New weapons were deploying along its sides as the ship continued to evolve. The Zephyrian command vessel was 3 times larger than the other bioships, a massive creature that served as the brain for the entire swarm in this sector. If Elena could destroy it, the other ships would lose their coordination and become much easier targets, but the command vessel was not going to be an easy kill. It had thicker armor and more powerful weapons than the smaller bioships. It also had something the others did not: intelligence. The creature inside was old and cunning, a queen-cast Zephyrian that had destroyed hundreds of worlds. "Incoming transmission from the command vessel," Torres reported. "Put it on speakers," Elena ordered. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in accented but clear English. It was high-pitched and insect-like, the voice of something that had never been human. "Human vessel, you will stop this attack immediately. You cannot win. We are many. You are one. Surrender now, and we will make your death quick." Elena picked up the microphone and spoke directly to the Zephyrian Queen. "My name is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Human Colonial Defense Force. I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you." She paused, making sure every word would be remembered. "You attacked human colonies. You killed human civilians. You thought we were weak and helpless. You were wrong. This is what happens when you threaten human lives. We do not run. We do not hide. We hunt." Elena nodded to Kim. "Fire everything." The Prometheus unleashed its full arsenal for the first time. Quantum torpedoes phased through space toward multiple targets. Gravitational lances reached out to crush bioships like insects. The harvester beam swept across the enemy formation, consuming everything it touched. The space around Kepler 442 lit up like a star as the human ship. The battle above Kepler 442 had been going for 6 hours when Captain Elena Vasquez realized something important. The Prometheus was not just winning the fight. It was learning from every enemy it destroyed. Every bioship that got consumed by the harvester gave the ship new information about Zephyrian biology and tactics. "Captain, the ship's AI is showing me something incredible," Commander Park said over the com from the engineering section. "Every time we destroy a bioship, our computers are analyzing their organic structure. We are learning how they think, how they communicate, how they fight." Elena looked at the tactical display. 28 Zephyrian bioships had been destroyed so far. The remaining 15 were acting differently now. They were confused, scared, making mistakes they would never normally make. The swarm was famous for their perfect coordination, but that coordination was falling apart. What exactly is happening to them? Elena asked. Dr. Lisa Shun, the ship's xenobiologist, answered from the science station. "Captain, we have discovered something amazing. The Zephyrian bioships are all connected by a biological neural network. They share thoughts and commands through bioelectric signals. But when we analyzed the neural patterns from the ships we consumed, we found a weakness." "What kind of weakness?" "Their network can be disrupted if we broadcast the right frequency. I have been working with the AI to create a signal that mimics human brain patterns. When we transmit it on their biofrequencies, it causes confusion in their shared consciousness." Elena smiled. This was even better than she had hoped. The ancient humans who built the original technology had been smart, but they had not known about Zephyrian biology. The modern additions to the ship were making it even more deadly. "Do it," Elena ordered. "Broadcast the disruption signal." The effect was immediate. On the tactical display, Elena watched as the remaining Zephyrian ships began to move erratically. Some of them stopped firing altogether. Others started shooting at empty space or even at each other. The perfect coordination that made the swarm so dangerous was completely broken. Down on the planet, Sarah Chun was watching the impossible battle continue. The single human ship had destroyed most of an entire Zephyrian attack fleet. But more than that, it had turned the survivors into confused, frightened animals. "Jim, are you seeing this?" Sarah asked. Jim Patterson nodded as he stared at the sensor readings. "The remaining bioships are not acting like Zephyrians anymore. They are acting like panicked animals?" Dr. Webb was frantically taking notes on his datapad. "This is incredible. In all the years we have studied the Zephyrian swarm, no one has ever seen them lose coordination like this. How is one ship doing what entire fleets could not accomplish before?" Anyone could answer. The communication system crackled to life. Captain Vasquez's voice filled the control room. "Administrator Chun, this is Captain Vasquez. The immediate threat to your colony has been neutralized. But I need to ask you something important. Do you have any Zephyrian prisoners or biological samples in your research facilities?" Sarah looked at Webb, who shook his head. "No, Captain. We have never captured any live Zephyrians. They usually fight to the death rather than surrender." "Good, that makes the next part easier." "What next?" "Part?" Sarah asked. Instead of answering, Captain Vasquez addressed the entire planet on all communication frequencies. Her voice reached every person hiding in the tunnels below the colony. "People of Kepler 442c, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Human Colonial Defense Force. The Zephyrian attack fleet has been destroyed. Your planet is safe. But more importantly, today marks the beginning of something new. Today, humanity stops running from the swarm. Sarah felt chills run down her spine as she listened to the captain's words. For too long, we have begged the Galactic Council for protection while human colonies were abandoned and destroyed. For too long, we have accepted that some of our people were expendable. That ends now. Elena paused, letting her words sink into everyone listening. The ship you see above your planet is not just a rescue vessel. It is the first of a new kind of weapon, a hunter designed specifically to track down and destroy the Zephyrian swarm wherever they hide. We are not asking the galaxy for permission anymore. We are taking the fight to our enemies. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Elena looked at the tactical display showing the few surviving Zephyrian ships trying to escape to hyperspace. She was not going to let them go. Each survivor that escaped would warn other parts of the swarm about what they had faced here. Tactical, prepare pursuit course for the fleeing bioships, Elena ordered. Captain, they are jumping to hyperspace, Kim reported. Should we follow them? Yes, it is time to show the swarm that nowhere is safe anymore. The Prometheus jumped to hyperspace in pursuit of the surviving Zephyrian ships. But before it left, Elena sent one final message to the colony below. Administrator Chun, rescue ships will arrive within 48 hours to evacuate anyone who wants to leave. But if you choose to stay and rebuild, know that you are under the protection of the Human Colonial Defense Force. No one abandons human colonies on our watch. As the Prometheus disappeared into hyperspace, Sarah stood in the control room trying to understand what had just happened. A single human ship had destroyed an entire Zephyrian attack fleet. More than that, it had somehow broken their famous coordination and turned them into confused, frightened creatures. Sarah, Webb said quietly, I think we just witnessed the beginning of a war. What do you mean? The Zephyrians have been expanding across the galaxy for decades. They have destroyed hundreds of worlds and killed billions of people. The Galactic Council has been unable to stop them. But that ship, whatever it really is, just proved that the swarm can be beaten, Jim nodded in agreement. More than beaten. Hunted. Did you hear what the captain said? They are not just defending anymore, they are going on the attack. Sarah walked to the window and looked up at the stars. The battle was over, but she could still see debris from destroyed bioships, glowing as it burned up in the planet's atmosphere. Each piece of debris represented a part of the swarm that would never threaten human colonies again. Do you think there are more ships like the Prometheus? She asked. Webb consulted his datapad. The captain mentioned the Human Colonial Defense Force like it was an active organization, but according to the Galactic Council, human military forces were disbanded months ago when they pulled back to the core worlds. Maybe the Galactic Council does not know everything, Maria said. She had been quiet during the battle, but now she looked thoughtful. Maybe some humans decided to keep fighting even after the official surrender, Sarah considered this. It would explain a lot. How the Prometheus had technology that seemed impossible. How it appeared at exactly the right time to save their colony. How the captain spoke about protecting human settlements like it was an ongoing mission rather than a rescue operation. If there are more ships like that one, Jim said, the Zephyrians are in for a very bad time. Sarah smiled for the first time in days. The idea that somewhere in the galaxy humans were fighting back against the swarm was incredibly comforting. After months of feeling abandoned and helpless, it was good to know that someone was still fighting for people like them. 3 hours later, the first rescue ships appeared in the system, but they were not Galactic Council vessels. They were human ships with the same insignia as the Prometheus. The rescue ships brought food, medical supplies, and engineers to help repair the colony's damaged systems. Sarah met with the rescue team. Leader, a young woman named Lieutenant Torres who wore the uniform of the Human Colonial Defense Force. Lieutenant, I thought the HCDF was disbanded months ago, Sarah said. Torres smiled. Officially, yes. Unofficially, we never stopped fighting. Captain Vasquez and ships like the Prometheus are just the beginning. We have been building a new fleet in secret, using technology that the Galactic Council thought was too dangerous to use. How many ships do you have? I cannot give you exact numbers for security reasons. But I can tell you this, the Zephyrian swarm has been expanding unchallenged for too long. That is about to change. As Sarah watched the rescue teams work to repair her colony, she realized that something fundamental had shifted in the galaxy. For the first time since the Zephyrian threat began, humanity was not just surviving. They were preparing to fight. Back, the hunt had begun, and the swarm had no idea what was coming for them. 2 weeks after the battle above Kepler 442c, Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the biolab of the Prometheus and looked at the most important prisoners in human history. 3 Zephyrian queens floated in containment tanks, their insect-like bodies kept alive by the ship's life support systems. These were not ordinary swarm creatures. These were the minds that controlled entire fleets. The ones who decided which worlds would live and which would die. Dr. Lisa Chun worked at a control panel next to the tanks, monitoring the Queen's brain activity. The creatures had been unconscious for days while the ship's computers analyzed their neural patterns. What they had learned would change everything. Captain, we have finished mapping their collective consciousness network, Dr. Chun sighed. The results are incredible. These 3 queens are connected to over 2,000 bioships across this sector of the galaxy. Elena studied the data on the screens around the lab. Lines of connection spread out like a spider web, showing how the queens communicated with their fleets. Each line represented hundreds of bioships, thousands of Zephyrian warriors, and millions of smaller creatures used for planetary invasions. Can we use these connections? Elena asked. Better than that. We can turn them into a weapon. The queens are terrified of us, Captain. When they are awake, all they do is broadcast warnings to the rest of the swarm. They are calling humans the devourers and telling other hives to avoid human space completely. Elena smiled. Fear was a powerful weapon, and the Zephyrians had never experienced it before. For centuries, they had been the hunters while everyone else ran away. Now the roles were reversed. Show me the message logs, Elena said. Dr. Chun pressed some buttons and the air above the control panel filled with holographic text. These were the messages the queens had sent to other parts of the swarm during their time in captivity. Elena read through them with growing satisfaction. Warning to all hive clusters in sectors 7 through 12. Human ships now possess consumption capabilities. Repeat, humans can devour bioships and grow stronger. Avoid all contact with human vessels. Flee from human space immediately. Priority alert to the Grand Hive. The humans have developed new weapons that can penetrate bioarmor and disrupt neural networks. Request immediate evacuation of all forces from human territories. Emergency transmission to all queen mothers. The human species is no longer prey. They have become apex predators. Recommend full withdrawal from human space until countermeasures can be developed. Elena had read enough. The fear in these messages was exactly what she had hoped to achieve. But fear was just the beginning. Now it was time to turn that fear into something much more powerful. Doctor, wake them up. I want to have a conversation with our guests. Dr. Chun looked nervous. Captain, they have been trying to break free from the containment fields. If we wake them up, they might try to escape or attack us. Let them try. They need to understand exactly what kind of situation they are in. Dr. Chun activated the revival sequence. Slowly, the 3 Zephyrian queens began to stir in their tanks. Their multiple eyes opened, focusing on Elena with hatred and fear. The largest queen, a creature as big as a human, pressed against the transparent wall of her tank and spoke in accented English. Human Captain, you have made a terrible mistake by keeping us alive. The Grand Hive will send 1,000 fleets to destroy your species for this insult. Elena walked closer to the tank, looking directly into the Queen's compound eyes. Your Grand Hive is welcome to try. We will be waiting for them. The second Queen spoke up, her voice shrill with panic. You do not understand what you have done. By attacking us, you have declared war on the entire swarm. We number in the billions. You are just one species on a few small worlds. Elena corrected. We were just one species on a few small worlds. That was before you taught us what we needed to become. The third queen, smaller than the others but somehow more intelligent, looking, studied Elena carefully. You are different from the humans we have encountered before. Your ship, your weapons, your tactics, where did you acquire such technology? Elena considered how much to tell them. These queens would eventually be released to carry her message back to the swarm. It was important that they understood exactly what humanity had become. We found it in the dark places between the stars, Elena said. Technology that our ancestors built and hid away because they thought it was too dangerous. But you taught us that there are worse things than dangerous technology. You taught us that sometimes you have to become a monster to fight monsters. The largest queen made a sound, like hissing steam. The Galactic Council will never allow you to use such weapons. They have rules about warfare, treaties that prohibit certain technologies. Elena laughed, and the sound made all three queens shrink back in their tanks. The Galactic Council abandoned human colonies to die. They decided we were not worth protecting. So we decided we do not need their permission to protect ourselves. She walked to a control panel and activated the ship's communication system. I'm going to send a message to the galaxy. All three of you are going to help me deliver it. Elena's voice was broadcast on every frequency that could reach civilized space. Her words went out to the Galactic Council chambers, to military bases across hundreds of worlds, to trading posts and colonies in every corner of known space. Most importantly, her message reached every Zephyrian hive ship in the galaxy. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Human Colonial Defense Force. 6 months ago, the Galactic Council declared that human colonies beyond the core worlds were expendable. They abandoned 50,000 people on Kepler 442c to die at the hands of the Zephyrian swarm. Elena paused, letting the weight of those words settle across the galaxy. Today, those 50,000 people are alive and safe. The Zephyrian attack fleet that was sent to destroy them has been completely eliminated. This is not a rescue mission report. This is a declaration. She looked directly at the camera, knowing that her image was being seen by billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. To the Galactic Council, your abandonment of human colonies ends now. We no longer request your protection because we no longer need it. We are no longer asking for permission to defend our people. The Zephyrian queens in their tanks were making agitated sounds, but Elena ignored them. To the Zephyrian swarm, you have 30 standard days to begin evacuating all human territories. Any bioships found in human space after that deadline will be hunted down and destroyed. Any attacks on human colonies will result in retaliation against your hive worlds. Elena's voice grew colder and more threatening. To any other species that might be considering humanity an easy target, we are no longer the weak prey species you remember. We have evolved, we have adapted, we have become something new. She gestured toward the queens in their containment tanks. These 3 Zephyrian queens will be released at the edge of human space to carry this message back to their Grand Hive. They will tell the swarm exactly what they have seen here. They will describe the weapons that can consume bioships and turn their strength against them. They will explain how human technology can disrupt their sacred neural networks and turn their coordination into chaos. The largest queen was pressing against her tank, trying desperately to interrupt Elena's broadcast. But the containment field held firm. But most importantly, Elena continued, they will tell the swarm that humanity is no longer hiding behind the defenses of others. We are no longer waiting to be rescued. We are no longer asking for mercy. Elena's final words echoed across the galaxy with the weight of absolute certainty. We are hunting now, and we are very, very good at it. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. On thousands of worlds, beings who had considered humanity a minor species realized that something fundamental had changed. The prey had become predators, and the balance of power in the galaxy was shifting. 3 days later, the Prometheus released the 3 Zephyrian queens at the edge of human space, just as Elena had promised. The queens immediately began broadcasting warnings to every part of the swarm they could reach. Their messages spoke of ships that could not be destroyed, weapons that should not exist, and humans who had become something terrifying and new within a week. Zephyrian forces began withdrawing from human territories, not because they were ordered to, but because the individual hive ships were too frightened to stay. The creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for decades were running away from a single human world and the ship that defended it, but Elena knew this was just the beginning. Deep in the Void Nebula, the ancient human shipyard was building more. Vessels like the Prometheus. Each new ship incorporated lessons learned from the battle at Kepler 442c. Each one was deadlier than the last. The hunt had begun, and humanity was no longer the prey. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when a species that had mastered the art of survival decided to master the art of war. In the darkness between the stars, human ships moved like shadows, carrying death to those who had once thought themselves the ultimate predators. The age of the Zephyrian swarm was ending. The age of humanity had begun.